going to do, right, so there's this whole thing, and and again, I am about sharing information, and I had a little thing working with ChatGPT, and I double-checked everything, and so we have, and unless you're living under a rock somewhere or you haven't watched the news, a situation going on in Venezuela with the USS Gerald R. Ford, the biggest aircraft carrier in the world, almost brand spanking new, and I believe it's around 13 other surface ships, as well as air support coming out of Puerto Rico that are going after Venezuela. Now, the argument is that, no, there's a couple of different ways. There's what's official and what's the conspiracy theory here. So what's official is simple. Venezuela is supplying drugs to the United States, and they're getting to the United States via boat, and the U.S. Navy has been targeting the boats. All right? And with that. And there is a specific two terms used for this sort of thing. And I was thinking back, I said, look, didn't the second George Bush do this? Similar thing with terrorists in Afghanistan. And what about Obama and then Biden and then Trump and the first Trump administration, all that? I said, this sounds familiar, sounds like a pattern. So I did a little bit of research, threw some stuff into ChatGPT, I'll be honest with you, and some stuff into Google, and rattled my memory with some old sources and old tricks up my sleeve from my old political days. And basically, these cartels were declared terrorist organizations back in January. Several of them. They were talking about Mexico, but also some of the other cartels, like in Venezuela, were recently classified, as my understanding, as terrorists, or as with that. And what the idea is that we have close to some years over 100,000 people dying of drug overdoses in this country, plus all the other ancillary crimes that go along with this and collateral damage. And we're working with Mexico, as my understanding. We closed the southern border, working with China, negotiations with fentanyl coming in. That's where most of the deaths are. But there are also some deaths coming in from Venezuela and some other countries. So declaring them terrorists and anything. Now let's think about this. Under the second George Bush, George W. Bush, number 43, I believe is what they called him, right? 3W, right? Holding 3 in front of the camera. So they were finding themselves being ineffective in Afghanistan and Pakistan, fighting the Taliban and there after 9/11, right? And initially, the United States only conducted what was called a personality strike, meaning, and I'm going to share this my notes here, meaning that they targeted specific identified individuals, known terrorists. So a terrorist would be known, and they would target that. So around 2008, late in the Bush presidency, the CIA began experimenting with targeting based on patterns of behavior, right, rather than a confirmed identity. These early strikes in Pakistan's tribal regions were the first true, what they call, signature strikes. They were justified as a way to hit Taliban and al-Qaeda fighters who could not be individually identified. So under Bush, right, what were the key features? Highly classified, very limited in scope, considered experimental, and often conducted by the CIA rather than the military. Under Barack Obama, 2009 to 2016, they had formally adopted and expanded signature strikes. Why? The CIA argued that al-Qaeda and Taliban operatives often moved anonymously, and the AFPAC, right, Afghanistan Pakistan surge, required a broader targeting flexibility, and drone technology and surveillance improved rapidly. So what were some of the changes? Obama authorized signature strikes where we focused on patterns of behavior in Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia, and allowed targeting based on pattern of life analysis. In other words, if you looked like a terrorist, if you're acting like a terrorist, if you were with terrorists, chances are you're going to be a terrorist. I know that's oversimplifying things. And they created a disposition matrix, a system for identifying threats with that, and it was right with that. No, if you take situational awareness training, it's gone into, at least a class I took. So increased drone strikes went from fewer than 50, again, it was the last year of Bush's presidency, to several hundred per year at the peak under Obama. So Obama did do the pattern of life analysis and did do signature strikes at a much greater frequency than Bush did. Now, why was there the change on this? Right? So the change came about because, hold on. The change came about for a couple of reasons. Obama, if you recall, again, this is all within our, if you're all within our lifetime here, right? The Obama administration was risk averse to U.S. troop casualties and favored drones. Again, it was cheaper, lower risk alternative to ground combat. You're putting less lives in danger doing it this way. But it was controversial because who are we shooting? Who are we killing? Who are we blowing up? Don't know. You had collateral casualties, for example, civilians, non-combatants, everything else thrown in here, and there was legal questions about due process. So, for example, if we recall, we had Johnny Taliban Walker, who was captured. Right, he was working with the Al-Qaeda in some capacity, allegedly. We don't know what the capacity was, and for what I remember when he was captured, is it captured, and I'm using air quotes here, from the travel network. They were filming a show, they came upon this guy here, and for whatever reason he was in the camps over in Afghanistan, right? Got sentenced to prison, spent, I believe, 10, 20 years in prison, the whole 9 yards on that. So some of the other public controversies, collateral legal questions about due process, so you had American citizens that were sometimes included in here, whether they were aid workers or whether they were actually giving aid and comfort to the enemy, whatever it may be, right? So in the later Obama era, from 2013 to 2016, Obama imposed stricter rules, near certainty of no civilian casualties, and limited signature strikes to Yemen and Somalia, and increased transparency, but the program did not end. So now we go into the Trump administration, the first Trump administration. Now, under Trump, they loosened some of the Obama-era restrictions and allowed commanders more autonomy in doing this. So it went from someone way up high there authorizing this stuff, right, to someone on a lower level out in the field, meaning the person at the tip of the spear with this, and reduced the reporting requirements and expanded strikes in Somalia dramatically. With some of the president's comments recently, that gives you a little bit more insight, maybe. Under the Biden administration, and was from 2021, right, suspended signature strikes temporarily in 2021 for review, and reinstated a version of Obama-era restrictions and shifted many operations back to high-level approval only. Yet he still did it, right? It was part of the counterterrorism thing. Now, that was up to Biden, and now We have. Are there signature strikes out there today? Yes. With that, I'm not going. I got some information. I don't want to go and release it now because I don't want to put any lives at stake. However, the idea of signature strikes. This is. Really saying, what are they really doing here? So, with that, that's what it comes down to. That's what my gig here is. I want people to be informed. I don't want people to be scared. I don't want people to be manipulated. I want to see some truth here, as I see it. And maybe, hey, you don't agree with it? Don't agree with me. Go ahead. Check it out here with that. So that's what I want to share with you folks here on the program.